Welcome, everyone, to St. Mark United Methodist Church. So glad that you could join us for our Lenten devotional series, Reset. Hope you enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. So good of you to join us again for our Lenten devotional series, Reset. Just a few things in the way of review. This is the third Friday of Lent, and so just a review of kind of where we've been on these Friday sessions. Our first Friday together, we looked at this idea of how Lent is meant for us to create unique space for God to show up and do the things in and through our lives that God desires to do. And so I hope that you have been able to carve out some unique space for God to work in your life so far in this journey that we are on together through the season of Lent. Our second Friday, we looked at how when God enters into our space and begins to do work, that in many ways, God is moving us to a place of getting a new name, of being renamed, as God does the work of restoring and reforming and creating in us new things. And so that's not always easy work, but we know that sometimes the things that are good for us, indeed the things that are best for us, are often difficult. And so I hope that we are able to do that difficult work together. Today, our third Friday of Lent, we are looking at a passage of Scripture from Romans. Actually, our reading is from the second half of chapter 2, the end of chapter 2, and on into a good piece into chapter 3. And so it's a little bit lengthy, and so I want to just pick up in verse 9 of chapter 3 in the book of Romans. And so here Paul says, "What then? Are we any better off? No, not at all, for we have already charged that all, both Jews and Greeks, are under the power of sin." And so, friends, Paul is just reiterating that we are all in the boat together, right? This huge, massive boat carrying all of humanity. We are all in the sin boat together. No matter what label it is that you have attached to your life, we are all sinners in need of the grace and mercy of Jesus. And not only for the purpose of salvation, I think it's important to point out, especially during this season of Lent, that God's grace and mercy is for the purpose of working through us so that you and I are able to partner with God in making the world a better place. And so, indeed, bringing God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, as the Lord's Prayer teaches us. And so Lent is an opportunity for us to renew or refresh that agenda in our life, that we are working with God to bring His kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Paul goes on to say, as it is written, there is no one who is righteous, not even one. There is no one who has understanding. There is no one who seeks God. All have turned aside. Together they have become worthless. There is no one who shows kindness. There is not even one. Their throats are open graves. They use their tongues to deceive. The venom of vipers is under their lips. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Ruin and misery are in their paths. And the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. And friends, when I read these words that Paul offers to us, actually an amalgamation of several passages from the Psalms and from the prophet Isaiah, I can't help when I read this. It seems as though the culture that you and I live in today is somehow smack dab in the middle of these words that Paul is bringing to us today. And as we reflect on them, as we reflect on this season of Lent, what it is that God might be up to in our lives, in the life of our church, in the life of our culture, that God seeks to bring his kingdom on earth, as God seeks to work within us to do a new thing. How it is that you and I are so desperately in need of God's grace and mercy each and every day. Friends, I wonder if we might be willing to partner with God, to let his love and mercy affect change in us first, so that we might be a source, be an instrument of change for the world. That God indeed desires his kingdom to come. And how else, friends, will God's kingdom come if it is not through us? And so I encourage you, as you continue on this journey, to let God work in and through you to do a new thing, to provide an alternative to the culture within which we live. How else will people choose Jesus if we do not show them who Jesus is? I close our time together reading from actually the devotional that I'm reading for the season of Lent by Walt Brueggemann. It's devotional entitled A Way Other Than Our Own. Earlier on, he talks from that perspective of how it is that you and I provide an alternative. And he says this to close the first Thursday of Lent by saying these words. He says, I imagine Lent for you and for me is a great departure from the greedy, anxious, anti-neighborliness of our economy. A great departure from our exclusionary politics that fears the other. A great departure from self-indulgent consumerism that devours creation. And then an arrival in a new neighborhood, because it is a gift to be simple. It is a gift to be free. It is a gift to come down where we ought to be. And so, friends, I hope that this Lenten season is starting to become consumed with this idea of how it is that we give ourselves to being like Jesus, so that we might show Jesus to the world. Indeed, friends, to provide an alternative to the culture that is devouring us. So, friends, I pray that you consider what that looks like for your life. And I encourage you, if you have questions or comments about what you've heard today, please email me. I would love to continue that conversation as we seek Jesus together during this season of Lent. Friends, be blessed. See you next time. Thanks again for joining us for Reset. Please click the subscribe button below and take a look in the comment section where you'll find a link to our website. There you will find contact information for each of our pastors, as well as our 40-day scripture reading schedule. Thanks again. See you next time.